Hey, I want to take an opportunity here to give you a presentation that I recently made. I did not videotape it, but I had the PowerPoint presentation, so I thought I'd give you a short version of the top 10 food storage mistakes, things that I've learned not only from my own personal mistakes, but from the mistakes of others. And trust me, I've done most of them. So let's get started. The top 10 mistakes in food storage. Number one is not storing enough water. Water is the essential key to life, and if you don't have water and enough of it stored, almost doesn't matter what else you do in food storage. Water is one of those key components that you have to have. Make sure that you have and store enough water. Water is the key to life. Number 9 on our hit list, or our hit parade, is balance. One of the things I've seen and from other people have done is they come up to me and say, hey, I have 500 pounds of wheat stored. What else should I do? Well, that's not a great idea to buy things in columns. In other words, buying 500 pounds of wheat and then 500 pounds of beans and then 500 pounds of rice. You need to balance out what you have. So you get, let's say 10 pounds of wheat and 10 pounds of rice and 10 pounds of beans and add them up equally so that you're not creating columns of food that you will have to eat on later. Not a great idea that way. The next one on our hit parade is variety. Variety is the spice of life. Unlike balance, where you're doing columns, let's make sure that you work to make sure that you have not only just the staples of food, but you also have the things that are necessary for a balanced diet. Or I shouldn't say balanced diet, but an equal and varietal diet. So you're not just eating beans, wheat, and rice, that you have other things like potatoes and vegetables and all those other items that add and round out a food source. Don't get in the trap of getting all of any one thing. Make sure that your food has some variety to it. There's a thing that's called eating stress, and that is, just not eating the same things over and over again. The next one is flavor. Often thought, not thought a great deal about is flavor. Don't forget that spices is the spice of life. Don't forget the spices and the condiments and other things. You could make an average meal taste a heck of a lot better with some ketchup, mustard, or barbecue sauce. There isn't, according to my son, with barbecue sauce, ketchup, and Frank's Red Hot sauce, that's all you really need because you can make any meal taste good that way. I have a little broader taste sensation, but don't forget the oreganos and cinnamons and honeys and other things that you can use to make what would maybe make a bland meal and make that meal a little more enticing for the people who are eating it. Also, on one of the bigger mistakes people make is by not providing comfort food. In times of stress, when you are having difficulties, either financial difficulties, or there's a disaster, or loss of job, or those kind of things, the kinds of things that you might be turning to heat your food storage, don't forget about the comfort foods. What are those things that you like to eat when life is not going well? I know in my family, and it's almost a joke around my family, is mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is one of those things that my children and most of my family really enjoys as one of those kind of comfort foods. For me personally, whenever I'm sick, I like mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes with a little butter and salt and pepper is what I like to eat when I am sick. And so that's one I really like mashed potatoes. So I make sure I have plenty of mashed potatoes on hand to handle that part of me that really wants that comfort food. And normally, not always, but normally comfort foods are also easy to fix. Let's not forget probably one of the key components is your health. People also don't think about those kind of things, but making sure that you have vitamins, over-counter drugs like Tylenol, ibuprofen, aspirin. Those things are essential to your food storage needs. So make sure you stock up. Just get a couple of bottles of One-a-day vitamins, multivitamins are just great, but also the other medicines and things like that that you might need for your long-term health, including stocking or trying to stock up on medications that you might need for prescription drugs as well. One of the key mistakes that I've found that a lot of people make, and that is cooking. The ability to cook what it is that you are going to eat. They don't often think about, well, what if my stove doesn't work? What if there's no electricity? Making sure you have at least one other, probably 2 or 3 other ways to cook your food storage, whether that be Dutch ovens, whether that be your backyard barbecue grill. You can get a barbecue grill with one of the side burners that costs about $100, maybe $150, and with a propane, and that can provide you a great way of boiling water or a lot of other things. Dutch ovens, Coleman stoves, hibachi barbecue type things, Weber grills, any of those things are considerations for ways. Solar ovens. I'm a proponent of getting a solar oven as well. Those are kind of the things that you need to have to make sure that you can cook the food that you stored. Now getting down to the top 3. The top 3 biggest mistakes that a lot of people make, and the number 3 one is knowledge. If you don't know how to cook wheat, what to do with wheat, how to grind it or anything else, what's the purpose of having it? If you don't know what to do with baking soda and baking powder, what's the point of having it? So make sure that you know how to cook with the things that you have. Yes, I have 500 pounds of beans. Do you know how to cook beans? Or anything other than to make refried beans, maybe? No. Well, then maybe you should get some knowledge. Get yourself some good cookbooks. Cooking with Food Storage is a really good one. Start learning and figuring out what you're going to do with the foods that you have. Gaining that knowledge is an essential before you actually have to rely on your food storage for your family's safety. But number 2 is proper storage. Oh man, this one is so huge. My parents actually bought in the late or mid 70s huge amounts of, not huge amounts, but about 300 pounds of wheat. They were stored in metal tins, and they sat there for many years without being checked on, without being looked at and anything else. And when we went to go move them, we found that a rat had chewed through the metal cans, and it chewed through the back of them. The front of them looked just fine, but every one of them had a hole in them that the rat had chewed through, and the rat's families had lived on my parents' wheat storage probably for a very long time. Never actually saw the rat, but I'm sure him and his family were fat and happy with eating all of the stuff. So storage and how you store it and where you store it and checking on it on a regular basis is really essential. Getting good food grade pails, sealing them well, checking them often, making sure that the food that you bought is stored very well, and making sure that long-term storage is there when you turn to need it. Boy, how my parents would have been really saddened if they had turned to that wheat that they had stored in a time of real need and found out that it was no longer there. And the biggest one, the most important food storage mistake, and that is rotation. Rotation, rotation, rotation. Eat what you store and rotate it out. You do not want to do, like my parents and a lot of people do, store 500 pounds of wheat or beans or everything else and set them there for 20 or 30 years, and now they are either past their time of usefulness or you're not sure whether you want to eat them or not. Rotate, rotate, rotate. There shouldn't be anything on your shelves that is older than about 10 years old. If it is, donate it to a food shelter or something like that and restock it with new if you have the funds to do it. The best way to do it is to eat your food storage, eat what you store, rotate the food out, make sure that it all has a date so you know when it went into your food storage and know when it's available to eat and what the dates on it are. But more than anything else is rotate, rotate, rotate. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed the video here. So just the top 10 food storage mistakes. Number 1 is not storing enough water. Or number 10 is not storing enough water. 9 is make sure that you don't columnize. You don't buy 500 pounds of wheat, that you balance everything out. That you have variety to your food. That you have not only the staples, but you also have foods that are different and adding variety to your food. Making sure that you have condiments, flavors, spices, those kinds of things to flavor and enhance not only your food, but your water. Number 5 or 6 on the top 10 mistakes is not storing any comfort foods, chocolate, candies, and the things that you like to eat most. Number 5 is not storing vitamins and things that will make you healthy. Vitamins, over-the-counter drugs, and prescription medicines, having those on hand. Number 4 is being able to have something to cook with. Solar ovens, barbecues, hibachis, those things are necessary to cooking. If you don't have something to cook your food storage with, you're going to be eating a lot of raw, uncooked food. And the number 3 on the top 10 is knowledge. Gaining the knowledge of the food that you have, how to cook it, and multiple ways to prepare it. Number 2 is improper storage. Storing it so the food goes bad before you want to use it, either with your knowledge or without your knowledge. When you go to turn to it and it's not there because it's spoiled in some way or another. And those also combined with the next one, which is rotation, rotation, rotation. Eat what you store. Go through your food. Don't let it sit on the shelf and rot. Hope you enjoyed this video segment. Brought to you by Frosty PR. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to friend it. Don't forget to like it. And if you feel so inclined, please share it on Facebook or Twitter. Thanks very much.